All right, well, welcome traders. Welcome to another swing trading event with Oliver Velez. Of course, my name is Oliver Velez. For those of you who are new and have no idea who I am, this is going to actually be somewhat of a special event. It's being recorded and it's being produced into an on-demand swing trading course. All right, so this event's going to be tailored in a way that is not normal with our normal swing trading events. The normal event is going to actually resume the following month, in early 2016, which does typically take place over 2 days. This is only going to take place over today, but we are going to actually have a study session that's going to come up simply because I believe that our swing trading activity is going to pick up quite dramatically, maybe even exponentially. And I'll explain a little bit later why I believe and feel that that is the case. There are certain pockets in the market that really switch the gears to swing trading or even other styles for that matter in a very, very big way. And I believe that we are really entering a pocket in the market right now where the predominant style of market play, as I speak these words, the predominant style of market play is going to become swing trading. There are specific modes that the market enters into. You can even look at these pockets of time as moods, just like an individual has different moods. And these modes or moods of the market really call for the trader or the market participant to be able to switch gears or match whichever style is appropriate for that mode or that mood. In the same fashion that you don't approach your wife or your husband the same way when they're really, really angry or very, very sad or destroyed about something. You approach them differently. You handle them differently. You talk to them differently. When your child is really crushed or disappointed because they lost a championship baseball game or something like that, you don't approach them normally. You don't deal with them normally. So in that same fashion, in the market, one must be able to first identify the overall market environment and identify which mood or mode the market itself is in. Then the truly high level of trader has multiple approaches that are designed specifically for the various modes or moods of the market. And so swing trading is just one of those styles of market play that I believe every trader needs under their belt. And when the market is really in a swing trading mode or mood, when it is not going to offer long and enduring one directional moves, that's more of a wealth environment. But when it's going to get more staccato in its nature, when it's going to get more salt and pepper in its nature, when it enters into this mode where it can cough up a good 2, 3, 4 day run, but nothing more. That's more of your swing trading mode. And the wealth mode is going to, what should I say? Taper off a little bit in terms of its opportunities, in terms of its performance as well. You know, and then there are the market environments that really don't even offer the multi-day pops that the market can give. They're the really they exist typically in 2 points in the overall cycle. We'll talk about that later as well. But in those market environments, you don't get anything enduring to speak of, and you don't even get the 2 or 3 or 4 day pop in one direction. That's when the market is very tentative, confused, uncommitted. And in that market environment, it is the micro trader, the very short-term oriented trader that really shines, the individual traders that have that in and out ability, that higher level of being nimble and quick, and the traders that can clothe themselves with the mindset to be very short-term oriented with a mix of being contrarian in your approach, knowing that whatever exists right now is going to absolutely reverse, and it's going to reverse really soon. And so part of being wrong consistently as a trader, as a market participant, part of being wrong is really only having one approach that you are applying to multiple market moods. It's like only approaching your child one way for the rest of their lives, whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're disappointed about something, whether they're going through a hard time, whether they're really experiencing something extraordinarily exciting in their life. You just have this one monotone way of dealing with them, no matter what their circumstances are. That doesn't work. You can't be one-dimensional because the market itself is not one-dimensional. And so part of being wrong as a market participant is having one approach, one style, one thing you know, which is nothing different than the broken clock that's right once every 12 hours, you know? And when time itself comes around to match the broken clock's arms, the clock appears to be right for a moment, but it's only an appearance. It's still wrong to be one directional, to be stuck with your hands at one time. You have to be able to adjust with time. You have to be able to adjust with the market's time, with the market's moods. And so that's one problem a lot of market participants have. They are one-dimensional in their approach to the market. They call it consistency, but it's the wrong type of consistency. Okay? The other problem, and it's a higher one, but it's still a problem nonetheless, is the trader who's gotten to the point where they do have a variety of different styles and approaches to apply to the market. They don't know which one to apply when. So they may swing trade, they may micro trade, they may wealth trade, what I call core trading sometimes as well. But they're core trading when they should be micro trading. They're swing trading when they should be core trading. They're micro trading when they should be wealth trading. And they don't know which one to sort of now lean toward. 85% of my activity is going to be focused here because the mode is here. So being able to say the market is happy, let me take happy, and it's going to stay locked into this happiness. Let me bring out my longer term core wealth approach. The market is in between here. It's can go in one direction, but not for a very long time. And it's going to switch and go into another direction, but not for a very long time. Let me bring my swing trading approach out. And although you don't ever abandon your other styles completely, it's which one is going to get the most action and focus from you. So right now, I believe we are in that mode where swing trades are going to be the predominant opportunity, the biggest money making opportunities, I believe, out there. There for a number of years, the bigger play was the wealth play. And now I believe we've entered into the stage and are entering into the stage where the swing trade offers a higher profit, higher odds of profit and more profit opportunities than the wealth trade does. All right. And so it's nicely timed that we're focusing on this style of market play. Now, for all of those who are familiar with my work, you do know that I teach a universal opportunistic approach to the market. And some people actually find fault with that. But Oliver, don't you really have something new? I mean, I've been following you for 4 years. I'm like, proudly, absolutely not. I mean, what I teach is, as far as I'm concerned, what I want to know is something that doesn't change, that is truth always, that no matter what type of market environment you're in, and no matter where we are in the life cycle, this is applicable. I want foundational things that don't flip flop and change and become obsolete because the market or has done this, or we're now 4 years later, so that doesn't work anymore. What use is that? So we want the cornerstones of a proper market play that don't change no matter what happens. And what's interesting is that understand that what creates opportunity in the market are human beings. The market has no life of its own. It is a symbol of the collective consciousness of its market participants. So it doesn't, when we study the market, indirectly we are studying the collective people, where markets are moved by people. People are moved by emotions and their psychological makeups. Okay? And so indirectly, we're reading psychology. Indirectly, we're reading the reactions from fear and greed. Okay? There are things that ignite fear, there are things that ignite greed, and then there are things that ignite confusion. And those are the three predominant states that are ignited by outside forces. Those outside forces either ignite greed, fear, or uncertainty, confusion. Now, it's possible, obviously, for one individual to be confused, another one to be greedy, and another one to be fear, but it's the collective consciousness that's important. So which one garners the vast majority of the participants? And that's your collective mindset. Not that you can't go and find individuals that think or feel differently, but at this particular time, which group is dominating the consciousness of all market play? Is it fear? Because in a bear market, it's fear. You have individuals that think or believe bullishly, but the collective consciousness of the players is what's important, not the minority. You know? So we are indirectly playing people, and people are moved by these primitive impulses, the programmed almost in a primitive way to respond to outside stimuli through three primitive gateways. I respond via greed, and we have all kinds of fancy, more beautiful names for it, opportunity and so forth and so on. Fear, and we have fancier names for it: safety, conservative, cautiousness, fear, right? And uncertainty or confusion. And we have fancier names for that too. Step on the sideline. I'm on the sidelines. I'm not. I'm 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 gathering myself again. And never forget that because these are primitive responses, they are and will remain the same for our entire lifetime. So, knowing this, you want trading tactics that are the pictures created by these three primitive things: fear, greed, and uncertainty. And so why should your tactics change if they're based on things that don't change? In fact, and guys, we will start getting into the material, but laying this foundation of the proper mindset is very important, because knowing what your plays and your tactics and your opportunities are based on gives you the proper belief in them to do them without doubting, thinking, or analyzing too much. That what you're going to learn from me are things that are the pictures of these three things. And more specifically, they are the manifestations of the change from one to the other. See, that's where the key opportunity exists. Do you follow what I'm saying? The key opportunity does not necessarily exist, although there is opportunity there, but it does not necessarily exist in the biggest way possible when you identify exactly what is and what has been for a while. So, for someone to come into a bull market 4.5 years into the bull market, it's better than nothing. Hey, we're in a bull market, but you're 4.5 years late in the bull market. Okay? You've identified what is, but a little bit late. Okay? There's opportunity still, but not quite like it was in year one. You see? So the key is to be able to identify when one of those primitive states are just about to make the transition to the other. When does greed stop and fear take the controls? At that moment, if you could freeze the moment, if you could look at fear, greed, and uncertainty as a three-man race team, we can add ambivalence if you want to do 4, but let's keep it 3. A three-man race team, and they pass the baton to each other. So fear, greed runs its race, runs its leg of the race with the baton, and at a certain moment, it is approaching fear. Greed is approaching fear with the baton. Fear is waiting for the baton. And greed, right just before he passes the baton and tries to place the baton in the hand of fear. And there's a moment where fear gets the baton, but the hand of greed is still on the baton. So the passing of the baton, there's a moment when both their hands are on the baton. That greed has not quite let go yet, and fear hasn't quite gripped it and pulled it away. At that moment where both of their hands on, and one who had it is about to release, and the other who's just getting it is about to take off. If you could freeze that moment, what would it look like? What's that picture? The transition, that's what you learn from me. I teach you transitions. And here's the beautiful thing. Those transitions from one state to the next, from one mode to the next, from one mood to the next, from one market environment to the next, from one trend to the next trend, those pictures are only a few in number, and they're the same every single time. And that's the beauty. That's why it'll never change. That's why there's never anything new. The transition's the same. Yes, they come in. There's 6 or 7 different sets of clothing that the transition can change into. Right now the transition's in blue. The transition's in, gray. But it's the same transition, just they changed the clothes just a little bit, but it's the same transition. And that's what you learn from me. Every tactic is identifying when one thing is going to stop and the other thing, a new mode is about to take off. And will we get it right 100% of the time? Well, of course not. That's what protective stops and things of that nature are for, and we will get into those as well today. But don't get it twisted. We don't need to be right 100% of the time. We need to be right more often than not, of course. And we need to be able to protect ourselves whenever the odds of us being right just aren't there. Right? And that's it. And that's the game. It's a numbers game. All right. So here's what I'd like to start us off with today. I'd like to start us off with understanding the overall market's repeatable cycle. Many of you have gone through this, but listen, repetition has a very, very important value here, that each time we cover a concept that you're familiar with, all right, you want to make sure that you're experiencing that same concept at a higher level of understanding. There are layers of understanding. You want to experience additional aha moments covering the same concept that you might have learned directly from me 3 years ago. But now you're ready and more receptive because of your experiential base over the last 3 years to receive more from that concept. All right. The idea that you have gained everything from the concept is ego. It's not possible. And the way we learn this, the way this stops being Oliver Velez's concept and starts becoming yours, is through experience. So you learn the concept through me, you take the concept into the real world, and you gain your own experiential knowledge with that concept. And that concept gets deeper and deeper into your DNA as a trader. But then you come back to the concept, we revisit the concept, and all of a sudden, because you are not this, you can't be the same person on the other side of experience. So because you have additional experiences, you are now on the other side of those additional experiences, which means that you are a different person, a different trader. You take this different trader, and this different trader is now absorbing the concept. And because this trader is different, they're absorbing the concept at a higher level, with the benefit of what the experience has delivered. That's how you get more. Man, I don't know why I didn't catch that the last time. How many times has Oliver covered this before? But boom, there's a lightning bolt. Boom, there's a wow. I never saw it like that. That's because when the student is ready, the teacher appears, or understanding comes into play. So don't take that attitude that, oh man, we've covered this before. Yes, but now watch yourself. You should experience different aha moments. Okay, so the market's one repeatable cycle here. All right. Many of you know this, but so many people miss this one fact. And this one concept here is the concept that brings about clarity in your trading. The fact that there is only one movement, one cycle that the market makes and can repeat over and over again. You see, a lot of people approach the market and think that it is just this wild and uncontrollable, unpredictable mechanism. It's just crazy. My God, look at how loco the market is. But in truth, the market is very tame. The market collectively is very tame. It is actually trapped on rails. A train doesn't have freedom, really. The rails dictate where the train goes and when it curves to the left and when it curves to the right. The market is that way. The market must go the route of the bell-shaped curve. It must rise, peak, and fall back. And it has absolutely no choice, traders. Think about this. Think of the implications of this. That it must rise, and after it rises, it must peak. And then after it peaks, it must ultimately fall back. And it must do it without exception. Now, if you really absorb that, everything should start to become clearer to you that, for instance, things like the higher, the longer the market has been going up, the higher it's been going, the higher it goes up, the closer you are to peaking and then falling back. The longer the market's been going down, the further it goes down, the closer you are to bottoming and moving back to the upside. So then, if this is true, and it must be true every single time, then where are the greatest opportunities in the cycle? The greatest time, the best time to become the most opportunistic is after one of those states has been going on for a while. Just by virtue of what must happen, just by virtue of the train track rails that the market must follow, which is this bell-shaped curve, that opportunity is the greatest at these points in the cycle. The end of one leg, we can call this the passing of the baton zone, and the beginning of another leg is your greatest opportunistic point in the cycle. The end of one, this is the passing of the baton zone here, right? Passing of the baton zone, and the beginning of another. So this here and this here is where we want to focus. This is where opportunity exists in every single trading approach, whether you're wealth trading, swing trading, micro trading, or day trading. It's the same. It's just When you're day trading, the cycles are tinier, they're smaller. You see, when you're day trading, your cycle might be the open. This might be 20 minutes later. You see, this might be 90 minutes later. Cycle complete. In the swing trading world, this might be Tuesday, right here. This is Tuesday. This could be Thursday. This could be Monday. Or even longer. This whole cycle in the swing trading mode could be a week and a half. Not just a week, a little bit longer. In the wealth cycle, you can have this can be 2000, this can be 2008, and this can be right here, 2016. And this can be 2018. But no matter whether you are looking at the market in a micro fashion, a medium fashion, or a macro fashion, you must understand the cycle. You must understand the market's life cycle. And so in the micro world, there are many, 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 many little cycles that make up the big cycle. And when you go to the macro world, there's one giant macro cycle that is made up of myriad mini cycles in the smaller time frames. But it's all about the cycle. It's all about the cycle. You see? And you must know cycles in your window of time. As a swing trader, the cycle is over days, not over minutes like the micro trader. And in the wealth cycle, it's over years. So swing is days to weeks. Wealth is years. All right. And micro is minutes. Yes, there are styles in between each one of those big ones I just mentioned. You know, there's the micro trader and then there's the day trader. Those are two wrinkles within the same group. The day trader's a slightly longer holder than the micro trader, but still not holding anything overnight. You know, there's the swing kind of core trader. And some of you may like that style. It's swing with a tiny mix of the wealth in it. You know, it's the swing for a few day pop, boom, hold the rest. Let's see where this thing goes. That's the swing / core trader. And I like that style. I play that style. All right. There are times when I know it's not time to hold any back half. Let's just take everything. But then there's time to, you know what, this could really go. Let's see. Let's take one off. Let's take half off and let's go for the gusto with the other half. Break even stop. All right. If it doesn't work, we've got a portion of the profit that we would have wanted. But hey, it's better than nothing. It's a numbers game. And then there's the wealth with a touch of the really long-term core trade. There's that wealth you might hold something for ride it for 14 months, but it's doubled on you or more. And I teach my wealth traders, whenever something doubles on you, keep 10% in forever. What's a forever trade? All right. Yes, forever. Something you pass on to your children. Every time you double, you keep a little bit in. You can't go to zero. Now, of course, that requires that you stick with quality. You don't want to hold crap forever. But if you've doubled in a McDonald's, keep 10% of your double forever. Pass it on to your kids. Put it in a will that they can't sell it. And collect doubles. So, yes, there are modes that exist between your predominant styles that bridge them. But everything is always cycles. Everything is always cycles. Now, this cycle comes in different shapes, though, you see? So, for instance, you can, even though this is still the cycle, it's not as perfect, of course, as my little bell-shaped curve drawing, as you know? And what makes sometimes identifying the cycle a little more challenging than identifying the cycle with my drawings is that there are different styles of tops and bottoms to the cycle. So, for instance, if I can go back to this slide, sometimes the cycle, let me change the color. I think this is a more appropriate color to work with. Sometimes the cycle has a different hat on it. You see, sometimes the cycle has a little pointy hat. Sometimes the cycle has a rounded hat. Sometimes, the bottom has a pointy bottom. And sometimes it doesn't. A rounded bottom. Sometimes it has a wide and whippy hat on. And sometimes it has a little beeline hat. It's not wide at all. Sometimes the hat is squished or dented, if you will. So sometimes the hat looks like this. You see? So it's not always perfect, but at the end of the day, it's still the cycle. So you've got to read the different types of hats and the different types of boots that it has. And that's also something I teach you. But these are your opportunistic zones in the overall cycle, no matter what style of market play you play. Okay? Now, so in this case, we have a pointy hat as the top. All right? And not the rounded hat or the wide and whippy hat. As long as you know the different types, you've got the pointy, the flat, wide, and you got the pointy, the round, the flat, wide, and whippy, the flat, narrow. That's it. You've got at the bottom, the pointy bottom, the flat and roundish bottom, or the wide and whippy bottom, or the beeline bottom before it moves back to the upside. Now, let's talk about the 4 phases. And this is where the clarity even deepens here. This one cycle is made up of 4 distinct, different phases. I break them up into 4 parts, right? So you have the 2 we know as the bull phase, 4 we know as the bear phase. 3 is the topping phase or the baton passing phase. And 1 is the bottoming phase or the baton passing phase. Okay? Your transitional opportunities always tend to, from a swing trading perspective, they exist in 1s and 3s. So when I get into the swing trading tactics, the events I want you to be able to identify and exploit for profitability, we strike in the 1s and 3s. Or more specifically, we strike in the transition from 1 to 2, and we strike in the transition from 3 to 4. Sometimes we're early. Sometimes a play will call for being right on the 3 before the transition, or right on the 1 before the transition. But most of the tactics call for nailing the transition because time is of the essence. The beautiful thing about the swing trading approach is that you're not exposed to the vagaries of the market for very long. It's going to work and go, or you're going to just get out. The time during which you're exposed to potential danger is short. If your swing trade is not going, usually the best thing to do is to step out, because most of the plays are designed to hit it right as it's going, as it's transitioning. Okay? All right, so these are your 4 stages. And so, for instance, when a stock is in the throes of a stage 2, all right, mild pullbacks are viable. Okay, you're not afraid. If you identify a stock as being in a 2, you're not afraid of pullbacks. And you'd be surprised how many novice traders miss this. They have no concept or clue as to when is a decline something of a gift, an opportunity for more, or when is a decline the sign of trouble? You better get out of here. Isn't that the $64,000 question on the street, though? You know, I mean, financial programs are built around that. This pullback's viable. You should. One talking head says. The other talking says, no, we're overbought. It's the sign of weakness. It's distribution. Institutions are getting out. You should run for the hills. That's a $64,000 question always. You will always be able to answer this with me if you keep this concept of the overall market cycle uppermost and prominent in your mind at all times. You should know where you are in the overall market cycle because it answers so many questions. It answers when your best stock that you love is dropping. You're like, but it's a gift because we're in stage 2. I am taught by Oliver that if we're in stage 2, declines are good. If the overall market's in stage 2 and my stock is in stage 2 and it's falling from a new high, that's good. If the market is in a stage 4 and my stock is rallying, if the market's in a stage 4 and my stock is in a stage 4 and my stock is rallying to the upside, I am not to believe that rally. That's what Oliver Velez teaches me. Everything becomes so much clearer when you know where you are in the cycle, when you know where the market is in the cycle, when you know where the stock is in its cycle. And when they match, the game is very simple. Not easy, never easy, but simple. They are two separate things, as you know. You know, basketball's simple. Put this ball in that hoop over there. Easy? No. But the concept of the game is simple. Put the ball in the hoop. You know, nothing complex about that. Simple, conceptually, not easy to pull off though, all the time. And that's what trading is, simple. But most traders don't even have the foundation of proper, what's the term I'm looking at? I guess proper thinking. They don't even know where to start. You start by knowing where you are. Like, how do you know where something is going if you don't know where you are? How are you going to find your location if you don't know where you are right now? Like, you can't even use Google Maps if you don't know where you are. If it's not going to tell you where you are, how do you know where to go? You got to first know where you are and where you are in the cycle, where your stock is in the cycle. So let's take this concept. All right, let's take this concept. But wait, I have to tell you this. That knowing the 4 stages of the overall cycle puts a lot of things in perspective for us. Then we know that the best opportunistic time to buy in the cycle is a 1 crossing into a 2. But what is that? What exactly is a 1 crossing into the 2? That's what I'm going to teach you. And we know that the buy side of the equation that you should be looking to exit in the latter part of the 2. You don't exit in the 4. Novices who get lucky and buy a 1 crossing into a 2 sell in the 4. Some of them sell deep in the 4 and lose everything that they temporarily had. The goal is to buy the 1 crossing into a 2 before the 3. Greed would want you to try to get the 3. But I want the tippy top. No, but intelligence would have you sell the 2 as late in the 2 as possible. Not the crossing to the 3, the 2 into the 3. Your short opportunities would exist here. The 3 crossing into a 4, and your cover of the short would be in a late stage 4, not trying to get the 1. I want the tippy top. I want the bottom. I want the exact bottom. No. You want the late stage 4. Leave the crust or the edges for someone else. We take the prime part of the meat out of the play. And we leave all this nonsense to the liars. The ones who always get the exact bottom and the ones who always get the exact top. That's what they're called. All right? So, let's take this in perspective here now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little exercise here with you. And after this exercise, I'll give you a little break, a coffee break. Let's go over this 1 cycle now in the form of a mini quiz, if we can. Okay? You have 1 cycle divided into 4 parts 1 is the bottom of the cycle. 2 is the bull or up part of the cycle. 3 is the top part of the cycle. 4 is the decline part of the cycle. And then we repeat. Which number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, did I just draw? Great. Okay. I'm glad you're indulging me. Absolutely. Great. It's 4. Okay. Now, of course, that goes without being said that if this is 4, then the reverse of this would be 2. Okay. The up part, this would be 2. So I'm not going to make you answer that because if you got the first one right, then this is naturally, you're going to get this right. This is 4 and this is 2. Okay. Now, this, I got to do it again. I keep hitting the wrong button and erasing my picture here. All right, let's do it. I did it again. Let's see, So how does the 1 form? So we have 4, you've identified 4, and you've identified 2. Where's the 1? And the 1, from a swing trading perspective, has a few different variations. That is what we are close to beginning to cover. I know how to identify. Once you know how to identify when your stock is in 4, and you know how to identify when your stock is in 2, the next step is let's learn what transitions these two. Let's learn all the events that are the transitional events, because those events are the ones we strike. We strike at the transition between these two. Of course, it's the same on the short side when it's the transition from 2 back to 4. But we're going to focus more on the long because you can automatically just reverse it for the short. I always teach from the long side. All right. For whatever reason, traders understand concepts better from the long side, and then they can apply them on the short side. But I teach the concept from the long side. So the long side is the transition from 4 to 1. But you'd be surprised how many people can't identify a 4 or 1. They don't know this concept. So you first must know how to do exactly what you just did. Oliver, you just drew a 4. Oliver, that's a 2. All right, well, how did 4 become a 2? What does that look like? If I can get you there, if I can get you by the end of this event to be able to identify all the ones, every one, there's only a small handful. If you know how to identify the ones, the transitions from a swing trading perspective, you see, ones from a wealth perspective are different in a way. A little bit anyway, not totally different. But the ones from a swing trading perspective, if I can get you by the end of this course, at the end of this event, being able to identify all the ones, and you know how to, and when to strike those ones. So it doesn't take just identification. You must know how to exploit what you've identified properly. And then the rest is trade management, which is a crucial part of the game as well. And then you've got your swing trading program. Know where you are in the overall market cycle. Know where your stock is in its cycle. You just showed me that you know that. The many cycles. But remember, it is best to play the fours that you just identified here. It is best that this four be in a macro too. So your stock from a more macro perspective is in a big two, but you are experiencing a temporary four in the smaller cycle. Do you follow what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Tell me you understand what I'm saying. Tell me you're picking up what I'm laying down. Does that make sense? All right, I just need a few of you to answer me. I just want to make sure I'm being heard and that what I'm covering is very clear to you. These are the foundational cornerstones, guys. And again, for many of you, it's a review, but it's a necessary one. It's necessary to touch base with these foundational cornerstones of proper market play periodically. I see so many of you stray from them. You send me emails or you communicate with me and say, listen, I don't understand. I'm just off. And a lot of times it's right here. You've strayed away from the foundational cornerstones of proper market play, proper thinking. You know, you're buying collapses and you're buying declines, looking for transitions on the buy side, and your stock is in a four. In a stage four, shouldn't you be doing the reverse? Fading the rallies, not buying the declines. I forgot, that's right. Why am I trying not buying the declines? I forgot, that's right. Why am I trying to catch a falling knife in a stage four? My stock is in a well-defined stage four downtrend. That is not the time to be trying to pick off the bottom of fours, because my stock is in a macro four. All right? Okay, so we are going to learn what all of the ones are in all of their variations. And we'll learn what the threes are as well, but they will predominantly just be reversing the ones and turning them upside down for how they look and appear in your threes. Are there any questions so far before I give you a break? We're good? Okay, let's do a little break. When we come back, we are going to cover locations, right, which are important. Again, a review for many of you, but a necessary one. We'll cover the 5 dominant locations that help increase the odds of our plays being right and delivering. Not just identifying what needs to be identified, but identifying them in specific key locations. All right, so it is now, let's call it 10:35 Eastern. Let's come back in 10 minutes. All right. Let's come back at 10:45. I'll see you then.